In the frozen wilderness of Minnesota this winter, a remarkable story of survival and gratitude unfolded, one that has since touched the hearts of an entire community. Mark Reynolds, a retired park ranger, was taking his usual morning walk when he noticed something unusual on a frozen lake. At first glance, it looked like a shadow lying motionless against the white expanse. But as he drew closer, his heart sank. It was a young deer, stranded far out on the slick surface, unable to rise to its feet. Exhausted and trembling in the biting cold, the animal had seemingly given up hope. "I knew it wouldn't survive much longer if left there," Mark recalled. With temperatures plummeting well below freezing, every minute mattered. Despite the danger, he tied a rope around his waist and cautiously crawled across the fragile ice. Each movement was deliberate, as the lake creaked beneath him. The deer panicked at first, eyes wide with fear, legs flailing helplessly. "It was terrified," Mark said softly, "but I couldn't turn away." Inch by inch, he managed to loop the rope around the animal's body, speaking gently to calm it. Then, with painstaking effort, he dragged it slowly back toward the safety of the shore. By the time they reached solid ground, Mark was drenched in sweat despite the freezing air. The deer lay still for a moment, as if gathering its strength. Then it stood, shakily, and turned back toward its rescuer. Its large, dark eyes locked on his in a silent exchange that needed no words, an expression of gratitude as profound as any he had ever known. Moments later, it bounded into the woods, disappearing into the trees. Mark thought that was the end of it. Days passed, then weeks. He spoke little of the encounter, considering it a private memory. But one frosty morning, as he stepped onto his porch, he froze. Standing at the edge of his yard was the same deer, waiting quietly. In the weeks that followed, its visits became routine. Sometimes it lingered near the tree lean. Other times it approached the porch cautiously, its ears flicking at every sound. Moved by the bond that seemed to be forming, Mark began leaving apples and water outside. The deer accepted them gladly, returning again and again. "I like to think it remembers me," Mark said with a smile. Soon, neighbors began to notice. They often spotted the deer near Mark's home, sometimes wagging its tail like a loyal dog. Word spread, and the story resonated deeply across the community. For many, it was a reminder that compassion, no matter how small the act, can ripple through the natural world in ways that defy explanation. Wildlife experts note that such behavior is rare, but not unheard of. Some suggest the deer may have associated Mark with safety and sustenance. But for Mark himself, it was never about science. It was about the quiet connection he felt each time those familiar eyes met his. "I like to believe," he said, "that somewhere in its heart, it knows it has a friend here."